Where are you from? I mean, not where you know that you're from. Like, where are you from? Stretching a few generations back. This is Now Tell Us, and I'm your host, Anthony Murore. At Now Tell Us, we have guests come and tell us stories. They come and inspire us. They come and educate us on a subject that they are passionate about. And always we are having a great time because we have great guests. Today we have a guest. His name is a bit long. Is Richard Kweku EzeAgu. The last part, Akinyemi. It's quite a long name, but he's gonna tell us why such a long name. He's coming to tell us about tracing your ancestral roots. So we're gonna bring him here to tell us why should we, how important it is, and what he's doing to help people because he's got some experience in that. And I won't take one more minute. I'm just going to invite you to come with me to go and meet Richard. But before that, please remember to share this episode with all your friends. If you have a question, ask. We will try to answer it to the level that we can. And if it's with the ancestral thing, then Richard is going to answer that. Be rest assured. And if you have any comment to make, we love feedback. We appreciate you taking your time being with us here. Even if you're watching the recorded version or listening to the recorded version, we appreciate you. And now, please join me as we go together to meet our guest today, Richard. Here we go. Hello, Richard.
Hello. How are you
Yeah,
doing?
I'm doing good. Good to see you here.
Good to see you as well. Thank you for inviting me on the show.
Yes, you're most welcome, and we are honored to have you. And first and foremost, let me start by reading your name again. Richard
Mhm.
Kweku EzeAgu Akinyemi. That's a long name.
It is a long name.
Yeah. Where are you right now?
I am in Ghana. I decided to move to Ghana when we had some challenges with my wife's getting her visa for the U.S. So I don't know if you might have listeners that know about it, but they tell you you have to have an interview, even if you're a legal U.S. citizen and you get married to someone, they still have to have an interview, and the interviews are like almost a year away. So many
Mm,
months away when
mm-hmm.
you have an interview. So we decided to come to Ghana, and we have just loved that. The Ghanaian people are so friendly, so warm, and of course, I found out with my DNA that on my mother's side, I'm of the Fante people of Ghana. So I'm here where my people are.
Wow. So you're a US citizen, born there and raised there.
Yes.
Okay, that's interesting. And now you are in Ghana and you look Ghana. I love your dress, your shirt, the lion, and I love
Well,
your
now,
hat too. You look in Ghana, really.
well, thank you. But the Ghanaians would tell you this looks Nigerian because this is actually Nigerian Igbo
Okay.
attire. The This is the EzeAgu. It's the lion's head cloth that is particular to the Igbo people
Mm-hmm.
in Nigeria. And this is this. So this is not Ghanaian dress. This is actually Nigerian dress. I have to get some Ghanaian the way that they wear their native attire. So I need one of my Ghanaian friends to help me with that because I had a lot of Nigerians to help me to acclimate to that culture. And some of my friends here, I'm going to have to tell them that, hey, you guys got to help me to get caught up on the Fante culture in Ghana.
Oh, I must be forgiven for that because I haven't been to Ghana or Nigeria. So,
Oh, see,
I,
now you have to come. You must come. And when you come, don't just go to Accra and Cape Coast, but also include Kumasi because a lot of people don't know that Kumasi actually is the cultural hub of Ghana. It is
Mm-hmm.
where the Ashanti Hennies, the Ashanti Kings, every 6 weeks they do a cultural display that they normally do, and it is full of rich cultural clothing and food, and it's just fantastic.
Wow. Now, it appears to us that you have a rich knowledge of that, not just for the fact that you're there, but even from us saying that we are going to introduce the people to their ancestral background. Uh,
Hmm.
How did this all start? Where now you were in the US, and at some point, maybe you got that interest to find out where you're coming from. How did it all start?
It started because I my primary care physician is Nigerian. He
Mm-hmm.
was for these 20. He actually lives in Nigeria now. He helped to open up a state of the art medical facility. But for over 20 years, he was my primary care physician. And he used to come back from Nigeria and tell me about it and things like that. And so I showed interest. And he said, well, let me start inviting you to the Independence Day celebrations. Because as you probably know, October 1st is Nigeria's Independence Day. And
Mm-hmm.
usually on some Saturdays around the world, you'll see Nigerians having Independence Day celebrations where you will go and you will taste some delicious Nigerian food, and you will see second to none fashion. The Nigerian women, as well as the Ghanaian women, their
Mm-hmm.
fashion is second to none. I'll just say African women because I mean, I've looked at the Ethiopian fashion. I mean, just everywhere that I've seen, South African, everyone that I've looked at, there's still more that I want to see, but the African fashion is second to none. As a matter of
Mm-hmm.
fact, all the fashion capitals of the world, I think they borrow or steal a lot of their ideas from African fashion. So
Mm.
it was just amazing when I started going to the Independence Day celebrations,
Mm-hmm.
and so my eyes were open, my taste buds were opened, and believe me, they use a lot of pepper, so my nose was opened.
Yeah, I've eaten pepper soup from
Oh
Nigeria,
yes.
and yes, I can attest to that. We don't take much pepper in Kenya, where I come from, but I have eaten Nigerian, and now, whoa, yes,
They do.
you've got that right.
And I've since found out it's very good for you. It's good for your circulatory system. That all that pepper is actually healthy. And
Mm-hmm.
since I started eating all that pepper, I personally don't have to take blood pressure medication anymore. I just regularly eat pepper. Pepper actually helps to lower my blood pressure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we were going through how it all came, the interest and how it got embedded in you, and such
Hmm.
that now I think I can take it out from you. So continue. You started
Okay.
attending the
So
Independence Day,
yes,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
starting attending the Independence Day celebration. Just fell in love with Nigerian food, fashion, and after several years of doing that, I told my doctor, I said, "Hey, I want to go to Nigeria with you when you go sometime."
Mm-hmm.
And it took a little convincing because he told me, as well as other Nigerians have told me, that they have so many people tell them they want to go to Africa. They're like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, okay. There's another person telling me. And they said nobody goes. They said,
Mm-hmm.
you know, that of the ones that I asked, they said we've had a lot of people ask us,
Mm-hmm.
and we get excited, but then they don't go. So I had to convince them a little bit.
And why don't they go? Any
Yes.
reason? Any
Well,
reason?
maybe they see. I think you have to plan for it because the ticket is expensive, and the hotel accommodations. The biggest expenses you're going to have is hotel accommodations and your airfare and transportation.
Mm-hmm.
Those two are the biggest expenses that you're going to have,
Mm-hmm.
and I recommend people stay at least 14 days. So it does take some planning, and in our case, that's what we did. He said, okay, well, this was in the end of 2012, and he said, well, in November my wife's niece is getting married. You'll be able to
Mm-hmm.
meet the whole family, so let's just plan for November of 2013. So I said, okay. So that actually gave me about a year to save up, because I brought my daughter with me.
Mm-hmm.
My daughter was 12 years old when we got to Nigeria, and it was just important for me to have her there,
Mm-hmm.
to be able to experience that. But that's how it happened. That's how I actually got to Nigeria.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I got there, the people, almost as soon as we got there, we were at the Beto Hotel in Abuja downstairs getting some malt, because I had never had a Vita Malt. It's like
Mm-hmm.
these malt drinks that they have, very popular in
Yeah.
Nigeria and maybe
Mhm.
in other parts of Africa. And so when from coming from America, I thought malt meant beer. I said, so when I saw the doctor drinking that, I said, is that beer? Because I thought it was a dark beer because it's
Mhm.
dark like a cola. He
Yeah.
said, no, no, he said, this is a soft drink. He said,
Mhm.
try one. It's really good. So it actually, for those that haven't had it, it's kind of like a cream soda on steroids. It's like a dark, stout cream soda.
Yeah.
That's the best description. It's not nearly as sweet as American sodas. They use much less sugar and things like that in Africa, but it's really good. So anyway, as I was drinking that, the manager of the lounge said, "Are you Nigerian?" And I said, "I don't know." I said, I'm African American. The slavery thing happened. I'm going to have to do some DNA to tell
Mm.
exactly. Then he didn't stop there. He said, "You are an Igbo man. I tell you, you are an Igbo." And I said, "Okay." And so I said, "Well, how do you know?" He said, "You look like an Igbo." He said, "If you did not open your mouth, I would not know that you were not born and raised here. You look
Mhm.
just like one of us." I said, "Oh, okay." And so then later on in the trip, there were some Yorubas that told me, "I believe that they asked me the same thing. If I was Nigerian, I told them the same thing. But they said, 'I believe you're a Yoruba. You have Yoruba features.'" And
Mhm.
I said, "Well, somebody told me that I was Igbo." They said, "No, no, 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 no. You are a Yoruba man." So it's like the Igbos didn't recognize the Yoruba, and the Yoruba didn't recognize the Igbo in me.
Yeah.
Uh, but at any rate, when I came home, I did my DNA and found out they were indeed correct. The
Mm.
DNA showed that I am, on my father's side, Igbo and Yoruba, and
Mhm.
on my mother's side, I'm Ghanaian Fante. And so I was just very excited after having been exposed to Nigerian culture for several years to
Wow.
now find out that I too am Nigerian. It was just very exciting. Very
Wow.
exciting.
Wow, that's quite exciting. And so
Mhm.
I guess from that experience and you finding out that you're coming from there, then your mind shifted from where you are and you went to Africa. Your mind, your whole being became part of Africa. And that is going back to your ancestral land.
Well, what happened was, African Americans have a rich culture. We have a culture that's been copied all over the world. But I liken it to the full moon. You know how
Mhm.
beautiful the full moon is.
Yeah,
Songs have been written about it. We just love to go out there and look at the full moon. But one thing we don't think about is every time we see a full moon, there's another half that is just as big, but it's dark.
that's
It's not
true.
seen, it's not
Hmm.
known. It's a great analogy for African Americans, Afro Brazilians, Afro Caribbeans, and all of these other descendants of enslaved, the former
Hmm.
enslaved,
Hmm.
because we have all created rich cultures. Caribbeans have they created a rich culture. Afro Brazilians have created a rich culture. Anywhere you go, they
Mm.
have created a rich culture, even though they don't know their ancestral connection, their root connection, just like we did.
Hmm.
But the interesting thing is once I found out about my connection and I was connected to that culture, so I'm now adding that to the culture. For
Hmm.
example, like just like look at what I'm wearing. I'm wearing a Nigerian clothing, Nigerian Igbo clothing, but then I have my Western hat. Just like like in the West they would wear these kind of hats. So I
Yeah.
like this hat. So that's like a blending of the culture, right?
Hmm.
And so I even because I like cooking, I've even made things that that it's not a Nigerian dish, but I made it myself. For example, Nigerians have jollof rice, right?
Yeah.
But I made jollof coconut soup. And
Wow.
there's jollof coconut rice that they make in Nigeria, so they know about that. If you say jollof rice, of course, there's a big argument about who has the best jollof rice. Of course,
Hmm. Hmm.
African people know, but I made jollof coconut soup, and actually, my doctor he tried it. He said this is delicious, and I said, so another doctor who was a friend of mine, he said that's not Nigerian. I said no, my brother, it
Hmm.
is American Nigerian. I said you got to step on out the Nigerian box. I'm an American Nigerian. You see, it's a blending of the cultures, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I actually created an American Nigerian dish. It's an American Nigerian fusion, So I call it jollof coconut soup, and it is one of the best soups I've ever eaten.
Wow, that's quite interesting. It's quite interesting. Yeah, and at this point, let me thank all who are viewing us or listening to us. Thank you, God save David, for that input. Is She says it's a great conversation, and we have other people who could be watching silently, and we know them. They know us.
Hmm.
We don't know where you're from, so you better go and find out. Go and find out where you're coming from. Now,
Hmm.
today we have Richard, who has a long name. Now, tell us how that name came to be.
Okay, well, once I learned what my ancestral connections, like the full moon, the other side, the dark side that was unknown, now it's known. I know that I'm Igbo, that I'm Yoruba, that I'm Fante. So I legally changed my name to reflect the culture and the people in my DNA.
Mm-hmm.
So Richard, of course, I left that because my name had been Ricky. So I dropped the Y off of that when I got out of high school. So anybody that was calling me that, I said, "Oh, you haven't talked to me in a long time." But anyway, I left Richard because Rick is kind of short for Richard. So people that know me that way, even my mother, she's like, she just refuses. I said, "Mom, call me Ezzy." She said, "You're gonna be Rick to me, boy. I'm gonna always call you Rick, okay?
Yeah.
And understand that." But
Uh,
anyway, and she even against her church friends, I'm trying to tell them to call me. She's like, "That's Rick, y'all. It's Rick." Let's not go cooperate with me. But
yeah.
anyway, um, so Richard, and then Kweku is actually Ghanaian Fanti, and
Mm-hmm.
it's the Akan tribes. There's also Ashanti and Aquilpim and another one. I think there's four different ones. Kweku means born on Wednesday. It's a spirit name in Ghana. A lot of people in these four tribes name their children their first name the day of the week that they were born.
Yeah.
Just like you've heard of Kwesi and Fume,
Mm-hmm.
Kwesi is I think Sunday born. Kwajo is Monday. So mine is Wednesday. Kweku.
Mm-hmm.
EzeAgu is Igbo. It means king of lions.
Oh.
And Akinyemi is Yoruba, and it means warrior king well suited to power. So if someone says my name, Richard in English actually also means powerful ruler.
Mm-hmm.
So when someone says Richard, Kweku, EzeAgu, Akinyemi, they have said powerful ruler, born on Wednesday, king of lions, powerful warrior king well suited to power. So that's what they have said. And the Yoruba say you will live up to your name. That's part of the Yoruba culture. They name people intentionally. So do the Igbos, and and so do the Fanti. And
Mm.
they say you will live up to your name. In other
Wow.
words, we gave you this name with intention.
Mm-hmm.
So I changed my name legally, and to me, it is part of nullifying the legacy of enslavement because the legacy of enslavement, a lot of African Americans have last names that, in many cases, were from the plantations that our ancestors were freed from, or maybe just names that they chose after they became free. But it's usually, a English name. It doesn't have anything to do with the culture that we had been disconnected from, because a lot of them didn't know. I mean, there's so many, and so when some people look at me and say, "Why would you change your name?" I don't understand that. I said, "It's not just for me. It's for
Mm-hmm.
all of my ancestors who wanted to know how they connected and couldn't know." I said, "So it's for me and for them." I told
Mm-hmm.
my sister and brother, I said, "I didn't just change my name for me. How many of our ancestors would have loved to have known that they were Igbo, Yoruba, and Fanti, and would have loved to connect it to the culture? I've connected to the culture. I know the
Mm-hmm.
fashion. I know the food. The food is really, really good."
Yeah, it is rich. I've heard this from many people who are not from there, but they've come visited, and not only there, but the most. I mean, the larger part of Africa. Whoever goes there comes back saying, "Oh, you've got some rich food."
Yes, and usually they say, like I said, I didn't have enough time because I had 10 days in November 2013, but it was too short. It was
Yeah.
too short. I
Yeah.
tell people now at least 2 weeks if you can swing it a month, and you will thank yourself. If you just, it's better to save up the money
Mm-hmm.
and wait a little bit to go and be able to go longer than to just go and because some people say I'm gonna be there for 7 days and they really kick themselves when they say, "Oh man," and then they try to fit everything in. They go here 2 days and there 2 days and there 2 days and then they're back, and I'm like, no, you need to spend at least 2 weeks to a month and spend a minimum of 3 or 4 days every place you go. Don't do 2 days here, and you can't really absorb it. It's kind of like you're skimming. You're
Mm,
skimming. Don't
mhm.
skim.
Yeah, and I know there are many people who are watching
Take
us.
deep breaths and enjoy the culture. You
Yeah,
know.
I know there are many people who are watching us who have not been there and who could be dreaming of it. Start
Mhm.
today. Start today.
Yes.
Today.
Yes.
And
You have to come. You have to come. And I recommend people find out what their ancestral connection is. Marcus Garvey, and I'm just paraphrasing, but he said, "A people that don't know their culture and history and past are like a tree without roots." And
mm,
it's true because African Americans, just take us for example, we've been called black, Negro, colored. Now they're trying to say BIPOC,
mm,
BIPOC, Black Indigenous People of Color. They want us to sit in that seat now. All of these different names. Well, why are they calling all these different names? Because every other American can tell you what country. So we don't just go up to somebody and ask them and they say, "Well, I'm a European American." No, they say I'm a German American, I'm an Italian American, I'm a Spanish American. Or if they're Asian, they don't say I'm an Asian American. They say I'm
mm.
a Japanese American, I'm an Indonesian American, I'm a Chinese American, right? But we say African American. Well, Africa has 54 countries, right? So
Yeah.
we're the only ones that call ourselves by a continent instead of a country. And it's not because we don't know. It's not, no fault of our own, but the technology exists now. So that's why I tell people it is time. It is time for us to connect to the culture in our DNA. We are I call us the hidden diaspora. We are the cousins. And
Mm,
actually, as I changed my name and legally changed my name, the Nigerians at my local, I joined the local Nigerian, the Nigerian group, the local Nigerian group,
mhm.
and they actually inducted me in October of 2017. They inducted me into the Igbo and the Yoruba tribes with the Igbo chiefs and the Yoruba chiefs, and actually the Igbos actually gave me the title of chief. And
Wow.
there's a red cap that goes with this. That anytime you see an Igbo with a red cap, that is a chief. Only the chiefs
Yeah.
wear the red cap. And then
Uh-huh.
they have the O4, which is the cane. And I have those things because I was given the title of chief by my the chiefs there in the local Nigerian community.
Let me
So
let
go
me
ahead.
sit straight. I'm speaking to a chief.
Well, yes, they made me a chief. They made me a chief.
Yeah.
I
So
that Go ahead.
go ahead.
I'm just
There's
gonna.
something you wanted to finish. Yeah, go ahead and finish.
All I'm saying is it has been so life enriching.
Mm-hmm.
And then I began to do keynote speaking at some of the organizations, different events and things like that. I was invited to be the keynote speaker, so I had to do the research
Mm-hmm.
on the people. And do you know what I learned? You will never guess what I learned.
Mm-hmm.
In the United States, the most successful group that has ever set foot on U.S. soil and the most educated group. You see, they would have us believe that the Asians are the most educated people in America,
Mm-hmm.
percentage wise, by percentage of them that have degrees. It's not
Okay.
true. It's the Africans.
Mm.
Africans, yes. People could do your research. The Africans are the most, and it was even, what's his name? The guy, the no spin zone on Fox. I can't remember his name. He used to call himself the no spin zone, but
Fante.
actually uh, he actually did a show on this
Mm-hmm.
that the Nigerians get bachelor's degrees at a rate of more than 2 to 1 compared to native born white Americans.
Mm.
They get advanced degrees at a rate of more than 3 to 1 compared to native born white Americans. And as far as earning power, they actually are the highest earning group when you talk about just regular Americans of
Wow.
any group of
Mm.
Americans. And that's so it's the Nigerians and other Africans are leading, and then it's the Asians after. Okay.
Okay.
So it's not what they have us believe. All the people that are watching in America right now are probably saying, yep, they make us think the Asians. It's not true.
Mm-hmm.
And the
Mm-hmm.
government knows it. They know it. They
Yeah.
they know because when they talk to them, they say, we know that you and so O'Reilly, that's his name, the guy on Fox. His name was Bill O'Reilly, the No Spin
Oh,
Zone. He
okay.
actually did a show on this and
Mm-hmm.
talked about how the Nigerians. And so to me, this is a great lesson because we have the African Americans, a lot of us have the same DNA as the Nigerians. So we
Mm,
don't have degrees at the same rate. That's no disparagement against us. That just shows you the difference between being raised up in an environment of where you have to deal with racism versus an environment where you're nurtured and given confidence from the time you're young. My
mm,
mother told me and my other brothers and sisters when we were probably 5 or 6 years old. I remember my mother sat us down at that age where she thought we could understand. And
mm-hmm.
all wise African American parents do this. And the African Americans that are listening to you will probably say, "Yep, my mother told me too, or my
Mm,
father told me." And this is what they tell us: you're black and you're beautiful, but in this country, you got two strikes against you. Like in the game of baseball, you only got three strikes, you're out. So your parents say you already got two strikes just because you were born black in America. You got two strikes against you. People are not going to like you just because of the color of your skin. Not
wow.
that you did anything to them. They don't even wait to check who you are. They're just not going to like you because of the color of your skin. So you have to know that. And indeed, as she told me, I was 6 years old when I had my first experience with racism in the United States. The music teacher, all the kids were running in from the class, from one class, you go to the music class down the hall. And so I had to put something in my desk. So I was the last one in. So I was running. I talk about this in the book. Running. And then the teacher, who tried to look like Elvis Presley with his hair slicked back,
Mm,
he actually tripped me. His name was Mr. Burke.
whoa.
I'll never forget Mr. Burke. And then I looked up at him, the little 6 year old, because this is first grade, six years
Mm-hmm.
old, I think, in the first grade. I said, "You tripped me." And he said, "You should have been running." I said, "Everybody was running." And then he just looked like, and I said, "I'm going to tell my daddy." And I did. And my mother told me later that my daddy got in there and had a come to the Lord meeting with him. And
Mm.
after that come to the Lord meeting, and he saw that he wasn't going to just deal with little me when he messes up, I ain't have no
He's
more
gonna give
problems
us.
out of the
Yes.
brave Mr. Burke. Oh, he was
So
brave, tripping a 6 year old child. But that was my first experience with racism.
wow. Now, you must have touched on this, but then, based on your deep conviction of this topic and your experience up to now, why is it important that I should trace my background, that my roots, where I'm coming from? Why is it so important to many people, and especially specifically to the African Americans?
I think it's extremely important because, as I told you, there was a great sense of pride in me when I did the research and found out that I am from a people. I have the
Mm,
same DNA as a people who are the most successful that have ever set foot on American soil,
mm-hmm.
bar none. The Nigerians are the most successful group that has ever set foot on American soil. And
Wow.
that's a fact. People, please go do your research.
Mm-hmm.
That's a fact. And that was a great sense of pride, especially when I grew up, and my mother had to tell me that, you got to be twice as good to be considered equal, and people are not going to like you just because you're black and things like that.
Mm,
And so I cannot describe to you how that felt, how it felt to be in Africa where everybody looked like, no, not everybody, but the vast majority of the people look like me. All the
mm,
police look like me. I'm not scared to go to a policeman and think that I can have
yeah,
my hands on the wheel and get shot like so
yeah,
many people have done.
yeah, yeah.
So when we went to the country club, when we in that trip in 2013, we went to the Lagos Country Club because they wanted to tell us. They said that they had the best suya. They had some
Mm-hmm.
of the best suya in. And suya, for those that don't know, it's thin strips of beef that they rub a suya spice on there, and they grill it over open flame. It is it's one of my favorite things in Nigeria is suya. Okay, so
Wow.
anyway, we went there for some suya, and then they serve it with cayenne pepper and raw onions because I learned when I was there that when you get something real hot, you shouldn't drink water. You eat raw onions because it will actually cut the heat down. It
Interesting.
literally cuts the heat down. Yeah, I was shocked. So now I just dip it in the cayenne because it's real hot, and I'm like, oh, it's so hot, it's so hot. Then I just get some onions and it calms it down. But at any rate, when we came around the
Yeah,
corner, I
yeah.
had to stop stop everybody. There's like 10 people in our group. I say, hey, everybody, hold, wait, whoa, stop. We've got to take this in. We've got to take. I look from left to right, up, down, pool, lounge, tables. Every place I looked, everybody was black. Everybody was melanated. And I had never seen that in a country club. I said, we're
Yeah.
not going to see this nowhere in America. At least I don't know anywhere in America that, because usually when I've been to country clubs in America,
Mm.
one or two melanated people are playing, but most of the melanated people are in the kitchen or on the grounds. Okay. And that's what you're used to seeing in America. But
Yeah.
I'm like, we had a country club. Now, the facility was nothing to speak of because it was there from the colonial days. So it was not, anything to speak of. But the fact that we're at a country club
Mm.
and we see everything that I'm looking at is melanated. Then the money, there are melanated people on the money. Yes, that's true. There are melanated people on the money. We have
Quite,
never seen melanated people on the money. So I
quite.
would bring Naira back with me. And
Yeah.
I would show when I went to stores or when I went to hotels to check in, and I would just tell people, I'd say, hey, I say, have you seen Nigerian Naira?
And
Have
then
you
you
seen
stretch
this
it.
before? And I show it to them. They
Yeah.
take pictures. They say, I'm going to share this with my children. They're going to put it on Facebook because they're like, what? That's us. Yeah, I'm telling you. But see, people from Africa like y'all, of course, this is every day. This is from the
Yeah.
time we're born.
I
But now
identify.
imagine growing up in a place where you've never seen a black person on money. You've never seen a melanated person on money. And then you see this. So
I get it. And
it's
some may not get it. Some may not get it. Now we are getting it from you, who is coming with that perspective that you've grown in a place where everything was, I mean, you had some limitations that you are now
cool.
looking back and saying, oh, I missed quite a lot.
Right. And I'm
And
not
now,
saying you can't be successful in America, but this is the analogy that I use.
mm,
Because you're melanated, it's like you can be successful, but somebody else is on a flat track and you on a 45-degree hill. Okay, so you can do it, but you just got to work a lot harder than somebody that's on a flat track, right? They're going
mhm.
like this on the flat track, and you can be successful, but you got to go up the hill, right?
And more effort, you've got to
Yes,
sweat,
you got to
you've got
put
to
a whole
bleed.
lot more effort. It's
And then
possible,
after
whole lot more
you're
effort.
gonna, oh yeah, we get it.
Mhm.
Now at some point you talked about the book. Can you maybe tell us about the book as it got, yeah, tell us.
Yes. Okay. The book is called Found My People.
Mm-hmm.
Found My People. And the website is simply foundmypeople.com. And what you're seeing on this cover, there is such rich cultural significance on this cover that I actually have, for those people that buy it and come on to the log in and let me know and contact us, I'll send them the fact sheet to unlock the mystery of the culture in the cover. These
Mm-hmm.
are ancient Adinkra symbols that you're seeing. There's 10 ancient Adinkra symbols. Each one was chosen because of what they mean. So the bird across the top and the bottom is the Sankofa, which many people know means it is no shame in going back to get that which is at risk of being lost.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I did when I reconnected to my culture. Because if I never connected to it, it was at serious risk of being lost. But
Mm-hmm.
I connected it and I connected my family. And then the three across the top of over found my people actually means the supremacy of God. Because what many people also don't know is the Africans knew God long before there was ever a missionary in Africa. These
Mm-hmm.
are ancient
Mm-hmm.
Adinkra symbols. These symbols were long before there was ever a missionary in Africa. For those people that think, oh, you wouldn't know the Lord if we, no, it's not true. They
Mm-hmm.
knew the Lord because, and even if we look at the Bible, it says God has placed it into the heart of every man
Mm-hmm.
that there is a God, right? So they knew. So these are all ancient Adinkra symbols. And so the book is really about the power of connecting to your culture, how
Mm-hmm.
it enriched my life, and how I can do so for others. Because the last chapter, I even go into when I wanted to change my name, what did I have to do? What all the process that I had to do to change my name. I even go into the different things that I had to change afterwards and the cost of those, which of course could be different for people, but it just gives them an idea. Um, so it's not just a story about me. To me, it's like the next step after Roots, because Roots was a wonderful story of Alex
Mm,
Haley and his family and
mhm,
how they, through against all odds, maintained their African traditions in a hostile environment
mm.
over generations. I mean, it's just a fantastic story. The only thing it didn't do is tell me how to connect to mine and somebody else how to connect to theirs. So this book is not only telling about how I connected and how it has so enriched my life. My life before knowing and this after is just totally different. Okay, but it also is a guide for those who want to do the same thing, because I believe there's a transformational day. There's a life transformation waiting for anyone that takes the time and effort to find out and connect to their ancestral roots. I believe there's a richness and a transformation that's going to happen in their lives. And I'm just so excited for those that undertake the journey. So even in the book, I say, are you ready for the journey? I think that's one of the last things I say is, are you ready for the journey?
Are you ready for the journey?
Are you
Oh,
ready
wow.
for the journey? Because it's a journey to
It's a
go from
journey.
not knowing. It's a journey to go from the full moon to the dark side of the moon and light that up. We're lighting it up. We're not going into the dark side anymore. Now it's lit up. I don't have a dark side. My whole moon is lit now.
Is
You see?
the whole
Yeah.
that's good.
The whole,
Okay, the
the whole moon
whole
is
moon
lit.
is lit.
It's lit.
So let's go on a journey. Let's rush to foundmypeople.com and connect with Richard and get the book and find out more. Now, I must say one thing, that you're a great storyteller, Richard.
Thank you, sir.
You've kept us engaged, and we followed all that you've told us at Now Tell Us today. And we thank you for coming to this show.
Thank you.
Yeah, we are almost coming to the end. But before we go, we'd like you to leave us with a few words that we should always remember. Which are they? If we forget everything that we said in the show, what must we remember?
Okay. The foundation of this book is the poem that God gave me when I first went in November 2013. There's a place called Badagry. For those anybody that finds out you have Nigerian DNA,
Mm,
your ancestor and my ancestor, the last place their foot touched on the continent of Africa was Badagry. That's where they got shipped out from. It's a suburb of Lagos, which is the largest city in Nigeria and the largest city in Africa.
hmm.
It's a suburb of Lagos. It's called Badagry. But when I was there, I had a visceral experience. It was beyond cerebral. It was beyond emotional. I believe it was spiritual. And God gave me, and I talk about this in the first chapter of the book. He gave me this poem, and this poem is the foundation of the book. It's called "It's in Your DNA." And actually, when they open up if they go to the foundmypeople.com and click on the USA Global button, then it'll take them to Amazon and go to the Kindle version, and you get a 2-chapter preview. So you'll see the first thing that you see in the book is it says inspirational poem, and that's this poem. And it goes like this: It does not matter what they say. There is greatness in your DNA. The proof is in the lies they choose to tell to make themselves feel superior. They point to chaos in different places, but hide what their hands did to bring it about. There is greatness in us, but they don't want it out. I think they know they could not compete if the field were level and they couldn't cheat. So on they go, lives filled with lies to make pretend and rationalize. They say all is equal. Why do you complain? Pretending that their constant lies have not changed the game and made people perceive just by your skin who should lose and who should win. There are some things you have to know. Don't wait for someone to tell you so. Reject the lies of yesterday. Embrace the greatness in your DNA.
Wow. Wow, what a poem. What a poem. And
Yeah, I
yeah,
actually turned it into an animated. It's on the Embrace Your DNA Greatness channel. Embrace Your DNA Greatness YouTube channel. So if they put in Embrace Your DNA Greatness channel, it'll come up, and then they'll see the Embrace Your DNA logo, and then they can click on that poem. And there's another video that talks about our DNA test accurate. There's only two videos, but that's those two. The one is the poem, and it's like less than a minute and a half to listen
Mm.
to. It's
Oh,
animated.
wow, wow, wow. Richard, we've had quite a great time with you here. Thank you for sharing all that with us
Thank you so much.
and for ending it on a high note with a wonderful poem.
You are quite welcome, and thank you for inviting me.
Yes, we appreciate you coming. So, this is the end of today's episode. This has been Now Tell Us. I have been your host, Anthony Morore, and together with our guest today, Richard Kweku, EzeAgu, Akinyemi, we are saying, embrace your greatness. And yeah,
That's right. Reject the lies of yesterday. Embrace the greatness in your DNA.
embrace the greatness in your DNA.
Mm-hmm.
Bye for now. Until next time,
Bye
it's
bye.
bye for now. Bye.
Bye bye.